What's up, Fear fans? Are you guys ready for TEOTWAWKI? If not, there's a 4-part video guide. Who knew? Stay tuned for episode 3, Fear the Walking Dead, coming up.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
What's up, Fear fans? Natalee and I are back again for episode 3. Super excited.
So excited.
So excited. We're like freaking out right now. Let's get these intros over and done with so you can just dive right in.
Of course.
I am your host, Timothy Michael. You can find me on all social media platforms at I am Timothy Mike, and I'm joined by my lovely, beautiful co-host.
You can find me at Natalee Dyer, Nataleedyer, at any social media platforms, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, all those fun things.
Follow us, guys. We follow back. Let's get the Strand and Dante storyline out of the way really quick, because I know all of you guys in the chat and everybody watching is so excited about the end of this episode, but I just need to talk about Strand really quick. So we pick up where he left off, which is in the car.
Yes.
And he comes across, I guess it's a dam, if you will, a dam location where all this water is.
It's a damn location.
It's a damn location. And he meets Dante. After he tries to get in. I don't remember if Dante was part of the first or second season. Is this a new character?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure he was in the first season, or he was at least mentioned.
Well, that's what I thought, right?
Season. And maybe even the second season a little bit. It was just a part of Strand's backstory.
Old life, yeah. And speaking of Strand's old backstory, did we ever think that it was going to come back and haunt him?
No. I mean,
really?
Well, I mean, not in this way, not in the way that it is. Like, yes, I figured, well, I mean, I thought he was an idiot for going to try and find someone from his history, because as he said, you know, you really thought we were friends, you know, I mean.
But I mean, wouldn't you, like, if you knew that, because clearly he doesn't know where Madison and them are, so wouldn't you?
Well, that was his fault for not going with them in the first place.
Wouldn't you want to go to somebody or to somewhere familiar?
I mean,
even if it was somebody from, like, your sketchy past?
He had a really sketchy past. And, he was in a world where even when you had police and, like, structure, you couldn't trust anybody. So why would you now, in this world when you really need to be able to trust people and trust that they're going to do what you expect them to do, why would you then go to them? That's
a good point. And I actually had hope for this Dante and Strand situation, because they looked like they were having
2 seconds.
They looked like they were having a good time, you know, cheersing and toasting, and then it just takes a turn for the worse. I was a little disappointed, because I was hoping that Strand would find a fellow comrade in arms. You know what I mean?
You mean like
somebody
find
to, like,
his crew?
Yeah, and what he was saying with the whole, you know, what the Dante's business in general, and him, you know, selling from the source. I got all of that, and I think that Strand.
No, it was brilliant.
Yeah, and Strand would know, because this is what his past is. I don't know if he really dealt, like, in drugs, because that's what it sounded like. But I mean, he had a point, and I was like, I think that this can change this guy Dante's mind, but it didn't.
Didn't it though? He didn't drop him. Yeah,
but he doesn't want to take Strand up on his proposal on, you know, I could help you run this.
I mean, are we assuming that he really isn't helping him at all? Like, he's not taking any of the advice?
I hope he would. It's good advice.
It's good advice.
That's what I mean.
And he didn't drop him, so. I know. What did Strand do to this guy?
This is what we've been, like, aching for, though, is more, like, character backstories, especially with Madison.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But I'm glad that they're kind of getting us in there with Strand. I mean, he's a very interesting character, and I'm interested in his backstory.
He's a problematic fave. Yeah, I want to know what he did, though, because he said you're going to suffer just like all the people who you took from, basically, you stole from. And so did he steal from this guy? Like, what? Because it seems to me they were in the same side before this whole thing happened.
Yeah, in order for Strand to go to him.
Right.
Yeah, you would assume that he thought he was a friend.
Right. Or at least they both dealt,
like,
they both dealt on the same side of ripping people off.
Yeah.
You know, so what did Strand specifically do to this guy? Or did this guy have, like, some change of heart now that the world has gone apocalyptic, and he's like, oh, we were terrible people, so I'm going to make up for it now by killing terrible people.
I think with the apocalypse, I think it sets you on just like another level of paranoia. And
Sure.
if Strand was a certain way in the past life, what did he call him? A something thief? Some kind of thief. You know, this guy Dante is obsessed that Strand has only come to take whatever Dante has.
That's true. I mean,
and we can't really be mad at him because,
No,
you know,
we can't.
we
No,
sit
no,
there
we
and we look
can't.
at the last episode and Madison's trying to sit there and take Broke Jaw Ranch. Like, she's planning to do that. So can we really blame this guy Dante?
oh no, not at all.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming. I mean, the thing is that I have an affinity towards Strand, and so he's my character.
Yeah. So you just don't like Dante.
But like Dante's threatening his life. You know, I can't. That's the only reason I don't like Dante. At the
Well,
moment.
funny thing that you brought up earlier is that, you know, Dante bringing up the point that Strand steals from people, he brought up Thomas. And I love this. I loved Thomas's and Strand's relationship, but Dante brought up a whole nother element and saying that Strand was stealing from him and that he died thinking that he really loved him.
Okay, but I figured that Strand had to have been stealing from Thomas, and it had to have started out in that, where it was like, here, we're gonna run this con on this guy because he's wealthy, and I can get him to like me. But then I really honestly thought that Strand did love Thomas.
I completely agree with you.
But the fact that perhaps he died without knowing that Strand originated this relationship with the intention to con him, like, that's hurtful.
But didn't he though? Because I could have sworn in the first season, the second season, they established that Thomas and Strand had met with, you know, Strand taking advantage of him and stealing his wallet and everything like that, and then Thomas winds up finding him and then they fell in love. So Thomas knew that he was a con artist, so what is Dante talking about?
That's true. I'm thinking it's a lot longer con. He knew that Strand was a con artist, that he was a grifter, and Thomas probably even enabled that a little bit to
an extent.
But I have a feeling that there was a much longer con being played at first.
Gosh. I wonder what you guys think, because I have no idea. What do you think? Do we think that Strand was in it because clearly Thomas had a lot of money? He had this whole villa. Do you think that Strand maybe might have been in it just for Thomas's money, and maybe when Thomas died, he would have stolen maybe the house or something like that?
Maybe that's why, and I cannot remember her name right now, but Thomas's mother or caretaker person really didn't like Strand.
Yeah.
Like, she did not like him.
Yeah.
She saw through his bullshit.
Maybe. That's a good point. It's interesting. But well, anyway, Dante's not having any of it, so he throws Strand into like this, I guess, prison cell.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But I thought he was gonna put him back to work, but that was. I mean, I guess he has to be in prison and then work and then go back to the prison. That's sad. Sad life.
Is he working? I mean, he was just sitting in the prison, right?
That's what I mean. Like, he said that he was going to take him, he was going to put him to work in the fields to pay back all the people that he stole from. And I thought that he was going to go, like, straight to the fields, but he put him in a prison.
Can we talk about, this is kind of a Mad Maxian moment. Like,
it kind of was. I agree with you.
Just now. But there's, like, a big old damn wall thing, and then they're feeding out water. I mean, they're at least giving out water in this situation. But, again, you have a man in charge, and they're just killing whoever they feel like killing, and...
But let's, what? I'm glad that you brought that up, because let's talk about that in relevance to the real world. Because Fear the Walking Dead is putting a lot of issues out there that, you know, contribute to the real world. And if we talk about global warming for a second, you know, the end of the world is not that far, you guys. I mean, the world is dying as we know it. And, you know, all of these scientists are saying, I mean, people are literally investing in water. Because that is going to be the #1 resource that you need if the world does end.
Right.
So I love that you brought up this Mad Max theory, because I feel like that is exactly what would happen. People would have control over the water, and that's what people would be fighting for. Yeah,
I mean, and that is a very realistic aspect of this show, and especially in, like, down here, you know, we're in LA.
Yeah.
And we just got out of, I think we were just technically told we're not in the drought
anymore.
Necessarily
5 year drought,
anymore. But we had to go through a lot of rain, so we'd be SOL.
Yeah.
Water wise.
Yeah.
So water is, guys, start investing in water now.
Not gold, not silver,
Not gold,
water.
not silver. Water and iodine tabs, because you need to make sure your water's fresh or like drinkable. You don't know me very well, but I am a slight prepper, so I have this knowledge.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll get to that because I'm kind of excited to talk to you about that. Speaking of water, a mysterious character winds up giving Strand a bottle of water.
Mysterious.
And the camera winds up turning, and it is Daniel. What in the hell is happening?
I don't know, but I'm so excited he's back. I was so mad he died. Died? Died. At the end of season 2?
Yeah.
Was the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Last season, yeah. Which
Or
feels like forever
it was the
ago.
season 2 mid-season finale.
Okay, yeah.
It was like halfway through. Because I felt like there was a big old break.
There was a break. I mean, this was a year ago,
and
so
I was
yeah.
a lot of stuff happened afterwards. Yeah, I was so mad when he died because I was like, oh no.
Because you really thought he was dead too, right?
I really thought he was dead.
I really thought. I mean, who could survive a fire in the basement?
A fire in the basement, and he had his wife, and I was like, he's so happy. He's dead now.
I'm glad that you brought
abandoned his daughter, but he's fine. Like it's fine.
Right. I'm glad that you brought up the wife though, because do you think that they're gonna still have that whole PTSD like thing going on with him?
Ooh, that's a great question. I mean, it'd be really wrong for them to completely disregard it.
Right.
Because it would be very out of character for him to just be over it.
Right.
I mean, I watched the trailer for next week, and it seems like we're going to find out how Daniel got to be here, so that's great. But, yeah, how are they going to deal with that, though?
I don't know. Jason and Daniel just joined us in the chat. Thank you for joining us, guys. I don't know, but I totally agree with you. If they don't address it at all, I'm going to be like, that's lazy writing. And B, a lack of your audience, feelers, because we want to know. We want to know, A, how he got to the same place that Strand ended up.
Right.
And we want to know.
I think we are learning that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because all that preview
That preview had a lot of,
Strand and him.
Daniel, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure we will learn something.
A lot of stabby and hitty in the trailer.
Oh, I know. There's a lot of infected killings.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm excited to get into more of that this season.
Oh, Jason, that would be an actually really good idea. He says, hope Chris comes back. We only have the word of those 2 guys that he died.
Oh, no, see, Jason, I'm going to disagree with you on that point.
But now we have no idea.
That's
they're
true.
Bringing people back from the dead.
Here's the thing, you guys. If there's no body, you can't count them out. If they're not an infected, and they're not like in a body bag or a sheet or whatever, they're not technically dead, clearly.
Now we can't trust anything.
Right, but with Chris though, I don't really want Chris to come back. So I don't know if I don't want him to come back and I'm saying he's dead for wishful thinking, even though that sounds terrible, but I didn't like Chris's character. I feel like there's too many sociopaths happening this season with Troy and a little bit with Nick after this episode. I kind of saw a little bit, which we'll talk about. I don't think that Chris just can't. He doesn't.
I mean, I think I don't disagree, but I also just think that Chris is dead because even if he did survive that crash and those 2 guys just left him because it seems like that's what they would do. They would just bail. He did have a really badly broken leg, and if he didn't bleed out and he does somehow survive, like that would be.
And if he didn't get attacked by one.
Exactly. He'd probably get attacked before he even bled out.
I agree with you. Yeah. Well, we'll see who they decide to bring back. I love the beginning of this episode with the videos of Jeremiah Otto and his family because that's another relevant thing that happens today. I don't know if you ever see the show on, I don't know what channel it is, but they have these people that build bunkers and like how they prep, and you said that you prep. They have this preparation preppers.
Doomsday preppers.
Doomsday preppers.
I think that's the show.
And it doesn't necessarily mean like a zombie apocalypse. It tends to just
prepping in general.
Yeah, just in case, shit hits the fan. And I don't say that I blame you for it. Do you get, what kind of reaction do you get when you tell people that you're a prepper?
Well, I usually feel really like not ashamed, but like kind of like, oh God, like
you're one of those people.
Yeah, but it's more of just like we could have a really bad earthquake or something. So it's really just a survival bag that I can haul with me out so that I can survive for like a week without.
No, that's
anybody
awesome. And I feel
helping
like,
me.
you know, Jeremiah was preparing for something.
Yeah.
Didn't really have to be the apocalypse. I mean, he said in his video is more for, you know, the government failing and then, you know, stuff going wrong.
What was it? It was the
TEOTWAWKI, the end of the world as we know it acronym.
Yeah. Yep.
I loved that. I thought that was so cool. And his
Me too,
four-part
but
video.
I didn't get that until you said it later. So,
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting way to start the episode, because it grounds us in where we are.
Right.
This is a community broke. I can't say this word, you guys. Broke Jaw Ranch is a community that was started by Jeremiah and his family for this particular reason, for the world ending.
Sure, but it's so culty.
It is a little culty. I mean,
little bit.
Yeah, it was. It's, you know, just them standing up in the beginning, and you know, we meet Gretchen, who is Vernon, who seems to have a problem with the group, which we'll talk about. Vernon's daughter, and she seems to be like a Bible thumper. In the beginning.
Yeah.
And I felt like, you're right, it was like a little culty at first.
Which we do need to say from our sponsors, because we're talking about cults anyway. A&E Leah Remini's Scientology in the Aftermath is up for an Emmy consideration. I don't know if you guys have seen this. If you haven't, you should totally go watch it, because it is amazing. It's skin crawling and but addictive. Like, you're just watching it, and it's the New York Daily News said the stories it tells are shocking and rife with sobering revelations and accusations. And more, I guess they're doing a season 2. They've got more ex-Scientologists are joining Leah to fight back.
Oh, wow.
Which is great. And as Reality Blurred put it, that's the power of this kind of storytelling. And I have to tell you, I watched I think 4 episodes in a row with my mom, and we just were like, our minds were blown that this is a thing that's happening and that people aren't doing anything about. So the fact that she is coming out and talking against them, because I guarantee she has many lawsuits from the Scientology group
sure.
against her at the moment. But yes, it's amazing. Leah Remini's Scientology and the Aftermath is up for your Emmy consideration, and you should, if you haven't watched it yet, check it out, because it's addicting.
I'm excited. I'm gonna have to check it out. Thank you, sponsors.
Yes, thank you.
So back to Broke Jaw Ranch really quick. I love that they're also establishing that there are people in this group that aren't very warm toward Madison's new group. We see that right off the bat with Vernon. And
the mother, because it was her daughter who died, protecting the unprepared.
yes.
Yeah.
And that was a little...
I think that was a great little insight into how these people think.
You know what? I'm glad that you... Yes? I think it's a little hypocritical to call this group Unprepared when we learned from Alicia's band group that they haven't, most of these people haven't even been outside the fence after this started. So who are the really unprepared ones?
Oh, these people who are all protected are definitely unprepared
Right.
for what they're going to see in the outside the fence, which I think is kind of why Troy is like, they would understand. I mean, they wouldn't necessarily understand what he had done, but he understands what the world outside the fence looks like.
And I'm glad that you brought that up, because I feel like they do need to experience that on some level, because when it comes knocking on their door, no pun intended, they're going to be shocked. Like, there are things out there that they are not, and I'm not just talking about the infected, I'm talking about other people who might want to come and steal what they have. And we've seen it time and time and time again in The Walking Dead, in Fear the Walking Dead.
Right.
There are people that want what you have.
Well, I think they have that looming over them.
With
but
Madison, yeah.
Oh, no, not with Madison.
Oh, what?
I think, gosh, what is his name? I like him. Jake. Jake's worried that there is somebody coming for it. That's why their helicopter got shot down. And so he's worried that there's something looming over them, and just all these people are just kind of living in bliss and not knowing.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of really excited when it does come knocking on their door, because they are all so uppity about being prepared.
Yeah.
And whatever. So.
Well, they clearly have like a group that, you know, that has that role of protecting the group. And
would you be in that group?
No.
Would you be someone who goes out? No,
I think that I would be more of like a I would be like more of like a farmer, or like I'm gonna grow like vegetables and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Or like the community therapist where people come talk to me about their problems. Yes, we're surviving the apocalypse. What would you do? Would you be?
I would probably be someone who goes out.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. I wish I could be that.
Not all the time, but I would definitely. Yeah, I'd be coming to you to talk about
my
problems.
After you've been out. Yes. Let's talk about Nick and Alicia's relationship because I really feel like this season they're going to expand their relationship. But they had a really awesome moment this episode when Nick asked what happened when Alicia, and he said what happened when you were out there, and I don't necessarily think he was talking about Alicia with the helicopter. I think he was talking about after he left them. And Alicia just walks away because
he has no right to ask that.
Yeah.
And so the fact I love that she walked away because that's also something I would do. So I would have been like, no.
So we definitely think there's some resentment there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked about it. I talked about it last time, and I've tweeted about it probably a lot. But I think that she's very resentful toward him for once again bailing on her. And because I think she feels abandoned by her father, even though he just died. And then she probably feels extra abandoned because now Travis
her stepfather.
is gone.
Wait, her stepfather or her biological father?
Biological father died.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I think she feels, and I think now it's even more, like she's tired of trusting people and giving them things of herself and then having them, I mean, her boyfriend in the first season died. Yeah. So I think she's just kind of like, nope, you voluntarily abandoned me and you left. Yeah. So now I'm not giving any more to this.
Do you think Madison resents Nick also?
Well, she says it basically.
Right. In the end.
No, when they're having the interaction and she says, because we hauled you out of that hellhole and Travis died for it. I mean, I can't say that she is torn up about Travis dying, but she's definitely using it toward her manipulations, bringing it back that she's a victim. Yeah. She's clearly not a victim, you guys.
Which I kind of want to talk about that because Madison and Troy had that awesome moment, that creepy awesome moment. They always have these creepy awesome moments, you guys, in the bunker or the bunk bed sleeping quarters. Let's call them sleeping quarters. When Troy is asking her what she did before this, and they have this really weird interaction. And the one thing that stood out to me about that was when Troy says, I uncomplicate. What did he say? I uncomplicate things. And Madison said, killing is simple. It's not complicated.
Which,
and I was like,
come back to that sentence once you're done with your.
Yeah, and I was like, that's really interesting because I feel like Madison has shown the most growth since season 1 to now because that's not how she used to feel. And for her to say that now in this moment, I think that Travis's death is impacting her in such a way that she's like, you know what, I don't care how anybody else feels or what anybody else is doing. I just have to protect me and my own at any cost. Yeah. So what were you going to say about that sentence?
Well, two things. One, in this moment, she also tells him to make the bed.
Yes.
And then later she sits with him, even though her kids are off to the side, and he's like, your kids are over there. And she's like, I know. Because she's mothering him in the way that he's never been mothered, because this is her way of getting in and controlling things. Yes. So I think that's brilliant. 2, she says killing is easy. And then later, when Alicia is in I don't know where they were, like in a bunker cellar thing with Jeff, which we got to talk about. Because I have a theory, or I read a theory on it, and I kind of agree with it now. But they ask her, what have you done? And she said, I killed a man. And they said, was that hard? And she said, not at all. Yeah. So there was like a recurring theme of killing is simple in this episode. Yeah. In the Clark family. Oh yeah, yeah. Except for with Nick. Nick can't do it. Nick can't do it, but he can cover himself in Walker blood. That's easy. Madison mothering Troy is. I think that there was a lot of Madison trying to fit in any way she can in this episode, and I loved that because it shows once again her growth since season 1, because she's doing anything that she needs to do to survive. Yeah. And I feel like she is doing that. Like, she told Alicia to, like, hey, she's inquiring about the Bible study group, which we'll talk about in just a second. Madison's gonna be so mad when she finds out it's not actually. Oh, totally. And then she, sits with Troy instead of her kids. Like, she's trying to show, and then obviously volunteers for the group in the end. She's trying to establish herself and make herself known in this just to win these people over. Yeah. Now, going to Alicia's Bible study, did you trust that at first? oh no, I was like, this is a trap. She's gonna get murdered. Like, I don't trust anybody,
right,
at all. Like in the show, like last time, I was also like, this is a trap, and then it wasn't a trap. I was like, this is a trap, and it's never a trap.
Yeah.
But and then when it is a trap, I'm like, I was right.
I agree, especially after that first and second episode that we were on such edge that I'm like, this is a trap. We can't. I don't. It was like we thought it was a hazing kind of thing. We were like, you're new to the community, we're gonna haze you,
or even bullying, because I thought maybe these kids were taking on like their parents' ideals of them being you know, freeloaders is what they're called. Freeloaders.
But clearly it wasn't.
It wasn't. No.
And I kind of like Gretchen now, because she's kind of cool.
Kind of. I mean, she's awesome.
I mean, they did reveal their unpreparedness, and their inexperiencedness by bringing out Jeff, who happens to be a head.
Yep,
which reminds me a little. I don't want to do too much comparison to The Walking Dead, but a little bit of a governor. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
With the heads and the water tanks. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
Yeah.
But it was a little creepy.
It was a little creepy, but even creepier is they were talking to the head.
Right.
They were saying. Sorry, my voice went really weird there. They were saying, you know, oh, Jeff is asking this question, and Alicia was answering him, and I think she was answering because she believed that it was, you know, in line with them asking questions through her, so they don't have to ask directly.
Right.
But I read online this week that maybe this group is going to be the Whisperers, which, and like Nick has already kind of felt this when he was covered in walker blood and he was walking in the group of walkers, and he was like starting to hear voices, and it was like the voices of the dead around him,
right,
and then also his like dead girlfriend or whatever. But so what it is they can talk to the dead.
They can talk to the dead.
I think that's what it was. That's what they were saying, or like that's the concept, is that they integrate and live among the dead.
I mean, but that's been like a recurring theme even in season 2 with Thomas's. You guys in the chat, please tell me her name.
Help us out here.
What is it? What was Thomas's like mother figure? What was her? I can't remember her name. Please do. But she had that whole recurring thing about integrating with the dead. The dead are one of us. They're not necessarily dead. They are living. They're beings.
It's like the next step of evolution.
Exactly.
I think she was saying.
I disagree with this theory though. I just think that it's a little far-fetched. I don't think that these kids essentially can communicate with a walker.
I think it's because their mind. Here's what I'm thinking: is that Nick can do it because he's a drug addict.
Yes.
And so his mind has already been expanded, or whatever you want to call it, to see it. These kids have been smoking and hanging out with this head for who knows how long at this point. So maybe they've just like sort of broken that barrier. I don't know. I think it's a really interesting theory. If that does happen, it'd be really, really cool. And Daniel Rick says, Jeff is the head, but Troy took his body. Curious. Exactly. Jeff is mad at Troy because Troy took Jeff's body. See, so that, and Daniel also says, someone speculated that Madison is the leader of the Whisperers. Which was, in the Walking Dead comic world, they are the enemies of Rick. Like it's like two factions kind of rise up and they fight it out.
That's interesting.
So we could very well be watching the beginning
of what the Whisperers are.
What the Whisperers are, and then later potentially have Rick and Madison face, like the two crews face off.
That's actually really cool.
That would be really cool.
That would be really cool. I mean, I'm reading the Walking Dead comics. I'm only on like episodes.
Spoilers, my bad.
Issue 100. But yes, spoilers, guys. So I'm excited to see where that goes. I mean, as just hearing it right now, I'm like, that's a little weird.
I agreed too. I actually, when I read the article earlier this week, I was like, nah, no way. But then we were watching this, and as they were talking to the head, I was thinking, oh, maybe.
Yeah.
So.
And Celia is her name. Celia was Thomas's
yes. Good.
mother figure. Really quick, I want to talk about Nick and Troy, because I had brought it up earlier when Troy somehow finagles Nick to come on this hunt with him after we've established in this episode that they should just stay away from Troy.
Madison tells Nick to stay away from Troy.
But Nick doesn't listen.
Well, I know. I think
it's just really,
It's another moment where, yeah.
But yeah, he goes on this hunt and like attacks Troy, and then rips up his journal and then starts laughing. And that's where I thought it was a little bit sociopathic, because I was like, Nick, what are you doing? You're like essentially playing with death as of right now, because I'm like, you've seen what this guy can do. You saw what he can do. You saw what he could do to you and your girlfriend and your family, and yet you want to toy with him like this. I'm like, if you're gonna shoot him, shoot him.
Yeah, but then he says, but now we can be friends. It's because they're both
off.
They're both off.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Definitely.
It's weird. I feel like they're both sociopathic, and this is why I didn't think that Chris could fit right now, because I feel like there's too many things.
There's too many unpredictable characters.
Yeah.
Like, all the characters are unpredictable to a degree, but at this moment, there are too many that are just so, like, unpredictable.
Yeah.
Like, you have Nick, you have Troy. I think, what is his name? Jeremiah even might be sort of an unpredictable. I think Jake. I think they're all unpredictable because I keep thinking Jake is like looking to take over too. I think he says to Troy, "Who's gonna run this place when Dad's gone?" And I don't think it was an innocent like Dad's, because Dad was apparently a drunk, Mom was a drunk, was clearly abusive toward their mother.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that there might be some deep-seated resentment. And as much as Jake is put together, I think he might.
It's always the put together ones that the ones that snap though, like the ones that wear their emotions on their sleeves, like Troy, who we can look at and be like, oh, you're crazy, and just write him off.
And Nick too.
And Nick, yeah, that's true.
Which is why it'll be really cool to see if Alicia, because she doesn't wear him on her sleeve.
See, but I feel like Alicia, though, has more of like a I want to be loved feeling, whereas Jake has more of like a I want to prove myself feeling. So I feel like Jake's is a little bit more dangerous, but I think that you're onto something with Jake.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to take a turn somewhere.
Yes.
And just going back to Jeremiah's like past life in those blooper reel videos that Madison was watching, Jeremiah was mean. Yeah. And clearly this was like 10 years ago, but at the same time, kids hold on to that kind of stuff because when they're in that kind of age, they're developing and they're, you know, making decisions for themselves. And
well, and who knows when he necessarily got sober.
True.
Like, he could have very well just gotten sober because it was like his thing that he predicted happened, and now he was like, "That's right, bitches. Who called it?"
Yeah, I agree with you.
Who knows?
Yeah. Luciana, let's talk about her really quick because clearly her and Nick want to like leave as soon as she's better.
I don't think Nick does.
I think he does. He even says it. He's even trying to convince Madison in this episode.
Yeah, but I think Nick is such an easily like swayed character. His opinions.
Yeah.
I mean, he has his like things that he sticks to, but when it comes to plans, he's very easily swayed. Yeah. And he's also very easily like, I'm dropping this right now. So I think with him, because I think that's why he got to be friends with Troy. That's why he went on that. That's why he did those things. He was like, we're going to clear this air. Yeah. And as Daniel says, crazy gets crazy, which is very true. So yeah, I think that at this point he's on the other side. I think he wants to stay. But
I feel like just in terms of, you know, Luciana leaving or wanting to leave, can you blame her?
No, because Troy's people, the crew that was out there, killed all of her people.
Her people, right.
So I can't blame her, but at the same time, you kind of have to think about your own personal safety. And if this is a situation where you might be safe for a little while in this crazy world, you kind of have to take it, but with a grain of salt, and know in the back of your mind that they were doing that. Yeah. Well, but appreciate your safety for the time being.
Well, here's what I want to throw out, and just on the appreciation aspect, Travis did stand up for her and Nick when he was in that room, in that bunker with them, and essentially put his life on the line for theirs. And he didn't even know Luciana from, you know, from Adam. Do we think that Luciana, because in this episode she apologized to Madison about his death and everything like that, do we think that she's going to feel like she owes Madison? Because essentially she would owe Travis, but I feel like that should go down to Madison since she's his wife.
I think it should too, but I don't think that's how she's going to feel.
I think that I think she does owe Madison, and I think that if Madison asks her to stay in order to keep her son around, Luciana should do it. Because like you said,
I Nick like is very should, because I think she should too. I think that's how a normal person would think. But at the same time, Madison straight up threatened this girl.
I don't think she threatened her.
It was a threat, and it was like, so it was I'm not going to go political on it. It was a a mob boss saying like, I really hope that this is what's going to happen. And then you feel like that's what has to happen.
I think that Madison has every right to ask that of Luciana because
she didn't really ask it though.
But she told. I'm gonna say ask because I don't think it was a threat. Madison, we know how Madison can be. She's a very strong character, and I think, like Jeremiah says, like she must have been very hard. She's very hard to get along with. I feel like if she's threatening you, she's gonna just flat out say it. So I feel like it wasn't necessarily a threat. It's more of like a very tough suggestion. But I think that
she was being a mom all episode. It was a parent thing.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing.
Well, because she's trying to protect Nick, and that's exactly what she's been doing from the first episode of the first season.
Fair.
And I think it's fair, and I think that Luciana should heed her word because she's essentially right. Yes, Luciana has all this baggage with these people, but at the same time, like you just said, you really have to put that aside and think about what is right for you and your survival at this point. Where else are you going to go?
Yeah.
So
some other cult, some other place.
Yeah. So just circling back really quick to the beginning of, of our episode, when we had said that, this helicopter got shot down. We don't know why this helicopter got shot down or who did it.
We're not going to find out for a little bit.
No, I don't think so either. But apparently Jeremiah wants to set out a group because the first group that he sent out
has not come back.
And I'm like, okay, well, clearly we're not going to sit here and go, oh, well, we don't know who these people are. Maybe they're not dangerous. I'm like, okay, your helicopter gets shot down and the group that you went after the helicopter, they haven't come back yet. Nope. So clearly something is wrong.
Yeah.
So don't play the naive game when it comes to, like, now I think they should be on high alert and trying to figure out what is going on.
They're sending them off onto suicide squads if they keep sending them out by themselves like that.
Right, yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
But how do we feel about Madison joining this volunteer group? Do we think she's trying to prove herself again? Is that the only reason she's doing it? Or do we honestly feel like she wants to get payback for what happened to Travis? Or both?
I think it's both.
Okay.
I think it's a very conveniently placed thing that she can do where it is proving herself, but also she's getting a revenge as she wants.
I agree with you. I feel like she has, to prove herself to this group because they think that she's a freeloader and they don't trust her.
And, like, she's trying to take the place over, and the only way, like, you have to earn respect.
Yeah.
And especially in worlds like this, you have to earn respect, you have to earn your keep.
And you have to show that you can be a leader.
And so that's what she's doing. If she comes back with whoever shot down the helicopter,
it gives her a lot of brownie points.
2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, and it gives her more respect, like you just said.
Yeah.
What I didn't understand is that this entire episode, though, after that whole her and the sleeping quarters thing with Troy, she goes to Jeremiah and she is asking him to keep Troy away from them, and they're going to stay away from Troy. But then we find her volunteering with Troy's group.
I think that was because she went to him before she saw the tapes. And then she saw the tapes, and she is...
Now she feels sympathetic toward Troy.
No, I think she sees, here's how I can use this information. Here's how I can begin to manipulate him.
Agree with you.
She's a long con person. That's why her and Strand got along really well.
That's true. Oh, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I love them together.
Yeah, they were a dynamic duo.
Yeah, I'm excited. Really quick, before we run out of time, we still haven't yet to see Ophelia.
No, we still haven't seen her.
I do want to kind of give out some...
We think she's just not coming back.
I hope she is coming back. No, okay, here's the thing. I saw on IMDb that she's done as many episodes as these guys. So, or 4 or 5 less episodes. So she is going to come back at some point. But I wanted to say that Gigi King's theory is that Jeremiah was the one that found Ophelia last season. When she was in the desert and he shot at her. And I looked at his IMDb page and he did 3 episodes, not including this one. This is the first 2 episodes, plus another one in 2016. So I think that Gigi King has, he's onto something there.
Yeah.
David Fresco said that Travis already might have been injured previously while he was on the helicopter from the Walker pit that he was in, or the infected pit that he was in. And that's why he just chose to die, because he was going to die anyway.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. And also, it was a main artery in the fight. He probably would anyway,
that too.
And then turned. So
Nighthawk 5015. It suggests that we call them infected versus walkers. That's why I've been having this battle with calling them infected, because walkers are for The Walking Dead and they call them infected with Fear the Walking Dead.
Oh right. Okay,
I don't know how you guys feel about that in the chat, but I kind of agree.
I will try.
Me too.
That, but I can't.
I know. I've been trying to do it. And then Trini B. Woy, WOY
anyway, so.
27, and Ivetka Stoicheva. really love our show, and everybody in the
thank you.
chat, even the people who give us some critiques, we look at these chats, we try to respond to them. We love interacting with you guys in the live chat. Daniel, everybody who's in the live chat, Jason, thank you guys for joining us. Keep the theories coming, you guys, throughout the season. We're excited to see what else happens. We're excited to see Ophelia if she ever makes an appearance. Where can they find you?
You can find me at Natalee Dyer, Nataleedyer, on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, Facebook, all that stuff. So.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm Timothy Michael. You can find me on all social media platforms at I am Timothy Mike. Thank you guys for joining us. We had a lot of fun.
We did have a lot of fun.
I'm excited to see where this season goes with Daniel.
And Daniel, we're going to talk about that next episode because that's a really good idea. The role reversal of Strand becoming Daniel's prey.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a great. We'll talk about that next time.
Definitely, because I feel like next episode is going to be very Daniel heavy.
Yes.
But that's our show, you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.